Hey students, this is lesson 323. In this lesson, we're going to interpret comparisons and show that you can use percents and ratios to make the same comparison. So let's start here with develop and understand. It says in a recent election by 7th grade class with 90 students, Razi received 36 votes and Jorge received 54 votes. All right, so we can see that Jorge won with 54 votes, Razi only had 36, but we can make those comparisons in a bunch of different ways. We're going to try and figure out whether these are correct comparisons or not. So it says, A says the ratio of the number of students who voted for Razi, which was 36, to the number who voted for Jorge is 2 to 3. The number voted for Jorge is 54. So that, what we're saying is that ratio is 2 to 3. So let's just write that as a ratio, 36 compared to 54. And let's just simplify that as much as we can. I'm going to show you a quick way to simplify a calculator here. All right, so we have the ratio of 36 to 54, and I'm just going to put that in my calculator using the divide sign. And if you press math, and number 1 is fraction, press enter on that, then press enter, the calculator will simplify that fraction for you. And we can see from that result that this is equal to 2/3. So that's a correct comparison. Our next one says, so we're going to say, yeah, this is good. Our next one says 40% of the voters preferred Razi. 40% of the voters preferred Razi. So of the voters, that's the total, which is, we're assuming 90 students who voted. And out of those, 36 chose Razi. So we need to find the percent that 36 out of 90 represents. So that's this proportion. And so we're going to do 36 times 100 divided by 90. And we can see that that is 40. So x equals 40, which is out of 100, so that's a percent. So yeah, that's a correct way to look at that. Our next one says Jorge received 20% more of the total vote than Razi. So again, we're talking about the total vote, which is 90. And it says Jorge received 20% more of the total vote than Razi received. So if we look at the percent of the votes that each of them got, Jorge got 54 out of 90 votes. And if we change that to a percent, and a quick way to change something like that to a percent is we can just do 54 divided by 90. Look at that ratio as a decimal and then just change it to a percent, which is just moving the decimal over 2 places or multiplying by 100. So that's 60%. And then Razi received 36 out of 90, which we did in the last problem. We figured that was 40%. And so we can see that, yeah, Jorge did receive 20% more of the vote than Razi received, because 60% is 20% more than 40. Another way to look at that last problem also is how many more votes did Jorge receive than Razi, and that is 54 minus 36 equals 18. And out of the total 90, what percent is 18 out of 90? And it is 20%. So that's another way to get that 20% there. Okay, so that one's accurate. D says 50% more people voted for Jorge than for Razi. 50% more people voted for Jorge than Razi. Well, 54 voted for Jorge, 36 voted for Razi. If you take the number that Razi got, 36, and 50% more is, what we'd be saying is that Jorge compared to Razi is 150%, because 50% more is 150. So if we look at this ratio, 54 over 36, change that to a percent. So we're going to do 54 divided by 36 and multiply it by 100 to get the percent. That is 150. And 150% of the vote is the same as 50% more. So that's another yes. Okay, B says 18 more people voted for Jorge than for Radze. 18 more. Well, that one's not too hard to figure out. We can just take the number that voted for Jorge, which is 54, minus the number that voted for Radze, which is 36, and that's 18 more. Just find the difference between them. F says Jorge received 3/5 of the votes. I'm going to let you try that one. And G says the number of people who voted for Jorge is 1.5 times the number who voted for Radze. I'm going to let you try and figure that one out also. All right, so let's move on and try some other problems here. Let's go down to number 6. And we're comparing the wins and losses here. It says the Wayland Lions won 24 games, lost 16. The Midway Barkers played more games, and their record was 32 wins and 22 losses. Find the ratio of wins to the total number of games for the Lions and for the Barkers. Are these part to part or part to whole? So we're going to go to the total number of games. So if the Lions won 24 and lost 16, that means they played 40 games. And the Midway Barkers won 32 and lost 22, so that's 54 games total. Games played. So the ratios are the number of wins is 24 and the total number of games played is 40. And for the Barkers, it's 32 wins out of 54 games. All right? And those are part to whole because we're using the total. If we compared wins to losses, then that would be part to part. All right. It says find the ratio of losses to total number of games. The Lions, they lost 16 out of 40 games played. And the Barkers lost 22 out of 54. Number 8 says, what percent of all their games did the Lions win? What percent of all their games did the Barkers win? So the Lions won, they won, what was it, 24 out of 40? And 24 out of 40, if we change that to a percent, we're just going to do 24 divided by 40, which is 0.6 times 100 is 60%. And if you do that with the Lions, or with the Barkers, so that's the Lions, the Barkers, they won 32 out of 54 games played, and that equals, if we round it to the nearest percent, about 59%. And let's just look at what that means about them. So which team is a better team according to this? And we're going to finish this problem in class and try and figure that out. Is there one team that's better? Is there not? And we can interpret the results in different ways. So go ahead and go back and do the problem I left for you, number 1, F and G, and we'll share those in class next time we meet. See you later.